Thank you for coming, everybody. How's everybody doing? Good? How's everybody doing? Good. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming. I know that I've seen some familiar faces. I'm sure that some of you came to the first event. Raise your hand if you came for the first one, Mix, Mingle.
Nice.
It was good, right?
Yeah.
Did you learn something?
Always when I put you
Did you connect with somebody?
Always.
There you go. So it was worth it. We wanted to bring another event like this because it's a combination of a more relaxed setting where you get to grab a bite, grab a drink, connect with somebody and learn something new. Last conversation was about investing, real estate investing, right? Now we're gonna be talking about scaling your real estate business. My name is Brian Murillo. I'm a real estate agent here in South Florida. I've been doing this since 2015. My first 4 years of my career was struggling, trying to figure it out myself until I connected with the right people that was able to help me to scale my business. I've closed about 400 transactions throughout my career. My niche is working with investors. I do a lot of listings. I also work with buyers. I coach agents as well. I'm with EXP and I have an organization of like 35 agents as well that I pour into them. It makes a difference working with yourself, no assistants, and having systems and staff and to be able to grow your business. So today we're gonna be talking about that. With me, I have my dear coach. Dear coach and mentor, Mr. Aaron Novello. Who here has seen that face before?
If you haven't, it's my bad.
You need to be more now. Well, if you follow him, you probably get annoyed with all these posts, right? So he's a real estate coach, real estate agent, real estate investor, so many titles, man. He's been doing this for more than 20 years. He has an organization of more than 300 agents with EXP. You should clap to that. He has made millions of dollars in real estate. You closed more than 100 transactions for 10 years in a row.
10 years in a row.
And twice 200 transactions in 1 year. As a solo agent, no real estate team, no buyer's agents, no other listing agents, just himself and a good staff of like 4 or 5 people.
Yeah, 3 to 4.
So
And your wife.
Yes.
including his wife.
Very mad if I didn't mention
Yeah. So he coached agents, he coached me and helped me grow my business and scale my business to go from 0 to now closing 60 transactions every year. I have 3 full-time members in my team and my staff and a lot of systems and procedures.
And when we met, precisely how many systems did you have?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Everything was in my head.
Sheets of paper.
Yep.
Anybody know what that's like? Yeah. All your business in your phone?
Yeah.
Yeah. In your emails? Yeah. That's impossible to scale. So he was, very much so working, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. At the same time, it was inhibiting because you can only grow to the proportion that your systems will allow you to. If you're taking notes, you should write that shit down. You can only grow to the proportion that your systems will allow you to. So despite rah-rah, despite doing cold plunges, despite running marathons that have nothing to do with selling real estate, you can only grow to the proportion that your systems will allow you to, and we worked really hard to set it.
Yes, I'm very appreciative of that. The other person I want to introduce is Melinda Grimaldi. Give it up for Melinda. She's a real estate attorney here in South Florida. She runs a title company as well, closing hundreds of transactions as well. And she's a very good planner. Melinda is also somebody that pours so much into me and helped me plan. Planning, guys. Putting numbers, knowing your numbers. She's a very good planning. When it comes to that, please ask as many questions as you can, because I could tell, and I can tell you that my business is more organized because of everything that you share with me.
Oh, awesome.
So
Glad to hear that.
share a little bit about yourself.
Just for a cup of coffee.
There you go.
Well, hi everyone. So yes, I'm a real estate and estate planning attorney. I have a law firm. I have a title company. My law firm has been around for 15 years, but I probably haven't really been a business owner for 15 years. I probably only became a business owner like 7 years ago. Before that, I just created a job for myself. So I think that's like the goal for today, is not just creating jobs for ourselves, but creating businesses for ourselves. And I'm excited to share with you what I learned, what my I guess, thing was that changed it all for me is I had a son, and I'm like, I'm working way too much. I can't be doing this. This is not why I started my own law firm. I started my own law firm to have more flexibility, and instead I created like something that just made a slave out of me. And so now I do still work a lot, but I have a system. I have lots of systems.
Yeah.
I have a very large team that works under me, and we have plans to expand in many different areas. And so yeah, I'm excited to share.
There you go.
I do estate planning, but I'm also the closer.
The
So
closer.
that don't want to forget about that, because I know I've been talking a lot about estate planning lately, but
Yes.
we get you closed. So yeah, that's it.
So someone else that I want to introduce is my dear friend Eric Rodriguez. He's the one hosting the venue, the amazing venue that we have here. He's the top producer, #1 producer of this branch, closing millions of dollars in volume. He does commercial loans, investment loans, regular real estate, residential loans as well. So tell us a little bit about yourself and the experience with scaling.
So thank you guys all for coming out. I see a lot of familiar faces from the last event we did. Great event, great turnout. Hope to have the same turnout today as well. Kind of like what she had mentioned, my turning point was COVID, right? When the refi and everything was super low in rates, and I outworked myself like crazy. I was doing everything myself, processing a lot of loans myself, thinking that I was the only one that could handle all that business, and I burned myself completely out. Yeah, you make a lot of money, but you have no life. So I had to learn how to kind of let off the gas and give some work to other people. You have to learn how to, kind of pass on the work to other people and let them help you. So I'm excited to share that with you guys, and hopefully you guys get some knowledge.
Awesome. Thank you. So before we start, I want to ask you guys, quick question. When you hear the word scaling, what comes to mind?
There you go. That comes to his mind.
There you go. What else? Scaling. Growing.
What else?
That's a good one. What else?
Delegating.
Delegating. That's a good one.
Automating.
Automating.
Oh, I like that one.
We're getting fancier with the words. What else?
Yes. Let's find a fancy word to say it. Expansion. Okay. That's a good one.
Scaling to me really is progress. Success is the progressive realization of a worthwhile goal and objective. Becoming a great drug dealer is not a worthwhile goal and objective. Selling a lot of real estate is, and it's legal. I can sell all I want, right? It's really about progress, and I believe that business is not physical, material experience. I think it's a spiritual one. Like, as you grow more, you can give more. But there are these intangible things. So how many people watch YouTube on a regular basis? Yeah. Always trying to gather information, right?
Yeah.
How good does that information do you? How many people know what it takes to lose weight? Show of hands. Yeah. Eat less, work out more, correct? How good does that information do most people? How many people know what it takes to get rich, build wealth, make more money, spend less, invest the difference? Do you need a PhD for that? How good does that information do you? It's not like the practical, like how-to, it's the intangible, internal things that are going on.
The tendencies you have.
65% of us grow up in families that live paycheck to paycheck. I did. So do you know what you hear all the time? Money doesn't grow on
Trees.
Oh my God, you guys went to the same school as me. Ready for the next one? Eat all the food on your
Plate.
Oh my God. And if you want to do something right, you need to do it yourself, which is horseshit. How many successful businesses do you know that have 0 employees? None. The people who gave you that advice were employees. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? That's programming. It's very difficult to unwind that internally. It's more psychological than it is practical.
Dear Coach, do you mind sharing where maybe?
I gotta get a shirt that says Dear
Yes,
Coach.
I'm gonna make you that shirt.
God damn, I'm getting all this love right now. It's fantastic.
Can you share with us?
Yeah, so
In your experience,
Yeah.
you've coached hundreds, if not thousands of agents. What are those elements that stop and prevent agents from scaling their business?
yeah, there's 5 that I call like assassins. The first one is the staller. How many of you guys ever had a big decision that you knew you need to make and you procrastinated making it? That is the staller. You get an invoice, you don't pay it. Because maybe things will change. I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna go on that trip. I don't know if I'm gonna take that little thing. I don't know if I'm gonna, look, it's happened to you, right? Okay, you wanna have a conversation with us about EXP and you stall. But what's underneath the staller? What's underneath it?
Fear.
Afraid of what?
Failure.
Rejection.
Fear? I'm afraid of what people will think of me and I'm afraid I'm gonna make the wrong decision. Do you know what you were taught in school? When you mess up, what happens when you messed up in school? You got in trouble. Like this, right? And you were taught that collaborating with others is called what?
Cheating.
Cheating. Not collaborating as adults is stupid. The second one is the speed demon. I gotta do this thing, I'm gonna do this. Oh, my cousin needs a job, I'm gonna hire my cousin. You make a real fast decision And how does that usually work out? Shitty. And then you never take the time, pain plus reflection equals progress. You never take the time to do what?
Reflect.
Reflect on what did I do wrong. So then do you know what you do? Repeat the same problem over and over. Look how many heads are nodding.
Yep.
Okay? The third one is the supervisor. If you ever get yourself to a point where you're willing to pay somebody to do something for you, do you know what you do? You hover over them and end up taking it back from them and doing it for them. Do you know why you do that? Control and you don't trust people. Notice, are any of these have to do with the practical world? Nope, it's all internal, right?
Yep.
The fourth one is the saver. I'm saving a little nest egg. Oh, I can't take that course, it's $1,000. That's a lot of money, I'm saving. Oh, I can't hire that person, it's too much money. Guys, the real currency is knowledge. It's not this. My family of origin lived paycheck to paycheck and was on food stamps multiple times. I'm a multi-millionaire. How is that possible? Do you think I learned that in college? No, emphatically no. I learned that from getting proximity to people who know how to make money. And do you know what I had to do to get proximity to them? What do you think it is? Pay them! Bro, you know how many people call me on a regular basis are like, hey bro, can I take you out to coffee? I'm like, dude, I don't need your coffee money. That is not a valuable exchange.
Not even a steak?
No, it's not I don't need your dinner money, bro. The last one is the self-medicator. When things go right, you know what you do? You celebrate with food, alcohol, and substances. When things go wrong, you know what you do? You go back to food, alcohol, and substances. And then do you know what happens? You're in this perpetual cycle that never change. It went from like, haha, this is cool, to like, fuck.
Man, this is no longer fun,
This is no longer fun.
Can we have a drink?
The first time we had a coaching call, one-on-one coaching call, do you know what he had to do?
I have to take a nap.
Take a nap.
Yeah.
It was heavy. It was intense.
It was heavy. I remember that day like now. My story, and before I go into that, what do you guys think of those 5 that you are maybe struggling with one of those right now that is stopping you to get your business to
Or
the next
combination.
level? Or a combination, yeah. What comes to mind?
Okay.
All 5, yeah.
But which one is the most pronounced?
Yeah. I mean,
The saver.
The saver.
the saver for you.
Okay, saver for you, same for you. Right? Do it yourself is really about doing what? Saving money.
Yeah, so you don't have to pay anybody to do it.
Yep.
So like think about that. If energetically I'm like this with money, how do I expect more to get put in?
Yeah, that's
So,
huge.
who else? Savers?
The staller. Okay, and what's causing you to stall?
Sometimes you think that you could.
Wait, replace the you, because you're doing like a you. Replace it with I.
Sometimes I.
Look at what's starting to happen to your
Own
body
it,
too.
own it, own it.
You see what's starting to happen to his body? He's like, oh fuck. Okay, so
So sometimes I know life controls me instead of me controlling my life.
yeah.
All right, that's when I kind of
Reaction versus
But little by little, I'm improving on those things. But I do feel that right now at this moment, there's things that I can do start right now.
And
for some
what?
reason-
Why are you stalling?
And for some reason,
What's no? It's not some reason. It's not some magical shit in like the ether. If we dig, what's underneath it? What are you actually afraid of? Wait, let him. I know all you guys want to like alleviate the pressure from him. But let him. I'm telling you, let him sit in it.
Oh, yeah.
He's drinking.
honestly, I don't know. Time,
No.
time. I don't know.
What does that mean? Explain to me what that means.
Time somehow.
That's fine, but what I'm aware of is you make time for things that are important. You brush your teeth every day, correct? Okay, so why? Because it's important. Do you need accountability around that? Do you need somebody to tell you to do that? Okay, I'm just checking. So you make time for things that are important, correct? So that's not it. What is it? What are you afraid of?
I don't know. I don't think it's fear.
I don't agree with you. Otherwise, you would be doing it. So here's what's happening. There's something in front of you that you want to do. There's an internal conflict. So guess what? You're not doing it. Until you deal with the internal conflict, you'll never do it. Because you can only behave in accordance with the way that you see yourself.
And that's
Does
why
that make sense?
that's why awareness is key. Like all that we're talking about, like all these things in this list, these 5 demons, or what did you call them? Demons?
Assassins.
Assassins.
Damn, you were hard demons.
Demons, wow, whatever. They're interchangeable, I guess. But they can be demons for some
And
people.
what I also noticed, what is your name?
Leo.
Okay, so here's what happened, Liam. I noticed as you started to actually go to what you're afraid of, I saw emotion pop up in your face. You pulled it back. So what I'm aware of, and I just need you to know this, right? This is just me and you talking. I'm aware that there's a lot of people in the room, so that would make sense to me that you would pull it back. But what I'm also aware of is until you go to that place, that thing will never get resolved. Does that make sense to you, what I just said to you?
It does, but listen, I don't care. Honestly, I'm not a,
Yeah.
otherwise I would have just shut
Yeah, but I would
right?
propose that you do.
But I really, when you ask me that, I really,
I know,
have
and
the time,
do you know
I'm like, what is it?
But do you
Honestly,
know what
is
happened
it?
when you did? I watched it. You went, "Ah," and I saw emotion flash on your mouth. If you would have let yourself, it would have came out. But it was pulled back. So what I'm aware of is like, and the reason why I'm sticking on this is because we all have this, guys. All of us. But you know what we do instead? We go on Instagram. It's great. I'm fantastic.
Yeah.
Hashtag thriving. Hashtag abundance. Meanwhile, I'm on calls with people and they're crying.
And you got to remember that you spend years and years convincing yourself otherwise.
How many?
That's
okay.
why it's so natural to.
We had a
that
conversation.
you avoid it. Yeah.
So what I'm aware of, because I have the good fortune of working with him, how many conversations have we had that you vehemently disagree with what I'm saying to you?
Almost everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone.
And
Yeah.
how many times I will say something to you, and for 45 minutes you'll be like, no, that's not what's true.
80% of the time.
Right? So
Because you
here,
didn't believe it was true?
No, I mean, here's the thing. It's Ray Dalio that says you got to triangulate truth with believable
people.
Meaning that what he did right there it's a coaching call for me. He's like tackling exactly and deeply what it's going to and going into the conversation there, right? Sometimes we just push ourselves because again, it's like years and years just lying to ourselves that it's not fear, that is not failure. But internally, that's what it is.
That's what it is.
We're fearful of something. And for everybody, it's different. Most of the time, it's some sort of failure, right? You were mentioning about awareness. What was it for you?
I've done a lot of personal coaching. I've done a lot of personal development. I pay people to do that to me on a weekly basis as well. And so, because I'm like, just tell me what it is. Like, here's what I think. I know I'm wrong, but like, tell me what it is. Because sometimes if we wait too long to reflect on ourselves, we bullshit ourselves. Our ego is trying to keep us safe from that
and
feeling.
the people that are around us, meaning well, it happened here. As we started to get into it, everybody else felt uncomfortable for you, so they started to try to talk to take it away from you.
Yeah.
You know what your people that love you do? Oh, papi, you're good just the way you are. And you know how much that helps you? Fucking zero. Nothing. So here's the question, whether it's me or anybody else. Until now, how many people do you have in your life that you give permission to do that?
To do what?
Call you out.
Confront you.
All, a few.
Who?
I've surrounded myself with mentors, with...
Claro, how often do you speak to them? Okay, and do they do this with you? Okay, then good. Then keep doing it.
No, I'm telling you.
Then good. But that's what she's referring to.
And it comes to, with time, it gets to a place that you get comfortable with it. Because you know that something, the same way that he says that, how many times I get uncomfortable, some calls would jump in and I'm like, okay, it was good, but I didn't feel that discomfort. And it's like you look forward for that discomfort because after that discomfort, you know that something is gonna happen. You're gonna have some sort of quantum lead, you have a realization of something that you're not doing right or something that you can do better. So for me, just to give you the backstory of what happened in my business and how Aaron helped me scale, what we just did right here, it was more about mindset, if you think about
yeah,
it.
I was gonna say.
We haven't get into the details on what specifically, tactically, you can do in your business to scale, yes or no?
Because
It was purely mindset.
those don't matter as much
Yeah,
as this.
exactly. You gotta start with this and then you gotta start implementing the tactical one. So before Aaron, I don't remember having somebody, I've had mentors too, but not having conversations like that. It was so uncomfortable that it was draining for me, so draining that I literally had to take a nap after the call.
Put you to sleep.
They put me to sleep. So because the first conversation, and I was doing I was doing like 50 transactions as a solo agent. I didn't have any systems. I didn't even have a transaction coordinator, guys. I was doing everything myself. You raise your hand, is that you? Is that what you're saying? Imagine doing, 50 deals in a year like that. In 2020, I did 48. In 2021, I did 50. That's when I realized, like, I'm not growing here. And you guys remember that those were good years, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So only 2 transactions different. So I was missing, the scaling part. I started coaching with Aaron, and then the first call was like, okay, what are your systems? I have none. How's your CRM? I don't know, it's there.
It's my phone.
It's my phone. So where do you keep track of the transactions? I don't know, in my head. So we start putting systems together, tools, actual tools. I hire staff to now I have 3 people working for
but
me.
when he says he hired staff, that seems like it's a very smooth
Yeah.
hiring staff. That is not what happened. Okay? What happened is for him, his assassin was the saver,
Yeah,
which makes sense because
one of them.
his past experience as a younger person, growing up in the Dominican Republic.
Yep.
So if you don't have a lot of resources, you don't think that affects your way you think? 100%. I had to get him to deal with that, right? Then he hired someone. But do you think he hired them full time? Why? Yes. So we're on a call afterwards, he hired him part time. He's like, yeah, bro, I find myself getting back into deals. I was like, why? He's like, well, my guy's part time. I'm like, what the hell did you say to me?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, it's part time. I'm like, what? What do you mean part time? He's like, well, no. I'm like, no, hire him full time right now. Call him right now and tell him we're gonna be full time.
How do you think that conversation was?
Yeah, you think he was like, yay! No, he was sweating bullets, man, all uncomfortable in his
It's
seat and stuff.
uncomfortable.
So do you see what I'm saying? Like what Brian's saying, what we're all saying. You guys are used to coming to these types of things and they're like, oh, I'm so cool and I'm so awesome and look at me and like, here's the tactics. And how good does that do you, truthfully? Very little, okay? Instead, our goal and objective here is that you will walk away and be like, damn, which one is it? My hope and wish and prayer for you is that you go home and you write out, what am I actually afraid of? Because you're afraid of something, otherwise you'd be doing it. Whether it's approval, whether it's somebody else thinking you look stupid, whether it's I'm gonna fail in front of everybody, it's something. And getting really clear on what that is. Does that make sense? That will help you much more than me telling you like the tactical skills of like, okay, hire somebody. A lot of you guys are just worried about doing deals, no? Yeah, you're like, yeah, where's my next fucking deal gonna come from? That's cool, that's what I wanna talk, right?
It is, right?
So I started doing business coaching about 8 years ago, and so I did all the things, like, right? I'm a very big doer. So I did my systems and I was growing my team and I was killing it in marketing and learning how to sell and all these things, right? All the parts of the business. I was getting my numbers in order. The one thing I didn't touch, the way the structure of this program was, is like there's 7 parts of the business, the center is you. The one part I didn't touch was the mindset, because I'm like, I got this. I'm confident, I know I deserve it. And you hear people sometimes think about mindset like, oh, like they went through a serious hardship in their life, or, they're going through a problem right now, or it was how they grew up, but my parents were married. I had a loving family. Like, I'm married. I have a kid. Like, I'm feeling good. Like, that's not my problem. So I didn't focus on that. But the reality, and I was like, man, all these people are like really excelling, and why am I not? Like, what am I not doing? And I finally realized that's the one thing I didn't touch, because I think I didn't need it. Well, when I really spent the time to go all into how I think and what my default tendencies are and why I behave the way I behave, and learning about all that and why as humans we do that and why I do that, and finding the resources to unwrap my onions. So we're all like layers of onions, right? And so finding out what those layers are and peeling them back and getting to the center and just being yourself and knowing what those tendencies are, because in the beginning, you know what they are, you don't change. Then you know what they are and you try to change, you don't do it. Then you try to change and you actually get it done, but not all the time. And then you just change yourself. Eventually, you start to do it, and then eventually you end up going back sometimes because life just kicks you a curveball. So, if nothing else today, take the time to find a minute in your day and focus on learning about yourself.
Yeah.
Love that.
Like, write down those 5 assassins and be honest, on a scale from 1 to 10, which one wreaks the most havoc in your life?
Love that.
Or which combination of them wreaks the most havoc in your life? And then address it.
Eric, you're a young guy and a top producer in this branch.
I'm 17 years old.
You got a lot of facial hair for a 17.
I'm 24 years old. I just turned 24.
Okay, what would you say is the one thing that allows you to sell that much volume in loans?
Confidence, definitely, and the facial hair. I had the facial hair to look older. One of my biggest things was, I guess I was kind of the saver, and I was scared to, I was scared to fuck up, right? So I used to always think, I have to do everything myself, not so much to save was part of that, but I was scared that in doing business with realtors or people, they would see me fuck up and they wouldn't want to work with me anymore. But what I've learned is if you mess up and you're able to fix it, people actually appreciate that more. So it takes kind of courage to be able to pass on your work to someone else, and you're gonna go down the rabbit hole if there's gonna be errors and stuff that need to be fixed. But when people see that you're able to fix that and the people you work with, it makes your life a whole lot easier, and in my opinion, it gains you a lot more.
How did you get over that? Like, what did it do to get you from point A to point B?
Well, like I said, I burned out. During COVID, I burned out, so I know I needed to do something, but it was kind of just self-realization. And honestly, Robert, the owner of Elite Lending, he was kind of in the same situation as I was.
Accountability, the right people around you.
Exactly. And he was like, I was doing the same thing as you, and I don't want it to happen, right? I was doing $25 million in loans myself, but I was never able to really get by that because I was doing all the work myself. So at that point, I've had people that have helped me out. I'll give more to my processors and, not kind of micromanage them because I was scared of them messing up and ruining my reputation. The more you learn to trust other people and let them help you, the easier it is to scale. And that's the biggest hurdle.
So for you, initially it was the supervisor.
Right. It was a supervisor.
Supervising and hovering and then basically taking it back.
Exactly. I would try to give it to them and then I would find myself hovering over them and I'm like, shit, I'm doing the same amount of work I am here. Yeah.
So you do need to trust but verify, right? You should be supervising if you have a team. You are managing people. But one way to get over that, like how I had that problem big time, and one way I got over it is by building systems that I trusted. I know my systems are on point, and the people working those systems are going to follow the steps, and then you just verify that things are being.
So the question is for people here, who here has a checklist that is not in their head, not on a piece of paper, in a digital form, for listing property? How fascinating is that? I want you guys to write something down. Memory is not a system. Okay? And I want you to also think about this. Thousandaires think, what do I have to do? Do you know what millionaires think? What system do I need to build?
So somebody can.
You understand? So the problem is that if listing property is all in your head, you know what that means? You know what that tells me? Every time you take a listing, you're the listing coordinator. You're the one that's coordinating everything. You're the one that's doing everything. And you're calling that work. That is not work.
It's busy work.
That is clerical. That is income servicing activity, not income producing.
Highest and best use.
Okay, so let me ask you this. When you go into a doctor's office, does the doctor greet you at the door? No. Who does? What's the first question they ask you?
Do you have an appointment?
What's the second question they ask you?
What's your name?
How are you gonna pay for this shit? Right? Not, are you sick? How are you gonna pay for this shit? Cash or do you have insurance? Then they say, great, and they hand you now an iPad. What's on the iPad?
Sign-in sheet.
Questions. What are they doing?
Intake.
Pre-qualifying. Where does it hurt? How long has it hurt? Have you have a history of it hurting? Have you traveled outside of the country? Have you changed medications? Whatever, right? Then they say, great, the doctor will be with you in a minute, which is a lie. You wait for 25, 30 minutes, and then do you get greeted by the doctor? No. Who are you greeted by?
The nurse.
The physician's assistant or the nurse practitioner. Then what do? They bring you in a room, you pee in a cup, they bang on your knee, they say, what are you in for? They scribble on a little iPad, they say, the doctor will be in with you in a minute, and that is also a lie. You wait for another 25 minutes, what does the doctor do? He or she blows in, grabs the chart, grabs the iPad, says, oh, you're here for this? You know what they do? They go like this, that's a bill. They touch you here, that's a bill. You go, that's a bill. They touch your abdomen, that's a bill. They write you a script, that's a bill. And they say, hey, I want to see you back in 2 weeks, have a nice day. And they leave. They're there for 10 to 15 minutes.
Wait, I have a question.
10 to 15 minutes, right? I need you to understand something. They do that 20 times a day. Both of my in-laws are retired physicians, okay? Those 10 minutes, 20 times a day, pays for the rent, pays for all the staff, pays for all the bookkeeping, and there's a profit. Guys, every business has a value chain. Every single one. Do you know why we as agents don't recognize that? Because our barrier to entry is we need to get a 75 on a test, which is 5 points above a D. Have $1,000 and not be a felon. That's the criteria. So that's why we have a hard time understanding value chains. We don't think like business people, we think like salespeople. I just want to deal and make commissions. So if that's what's true, think about this. What would be the value chain for an agent? What's the highest activity for an agent where they make all the money?
Prospecting.
What else?
Going on appointments.
Going on appointments? What else?
Negotiating deals.
Negotiating deals, what else? Lead follow-up. Guys, PLAN, prospect, lead follow-up, go on appointments, negotiate deals. That's the only thing you get paid to do. Everything else is what? Clerical work. So you run around one deal, individual, singular, you post about it the whole time, you do all the fucking clerical work, then at her office you hold up, yay, we're so happy! And then you have no more deals left.
You see that every day, right?
Do you understand what I'm saying? It's a value chain. You should have a system, okay, you should have a checklist for listing property and a checklist for pendings that you can hand to a transaction coordinator and they go right down the list.
But I was gonna get there on all the the exact details of the process and how to scale, right? Because I went through the process later in the last couple of years with your help. If I were to ask you, why would you want to scale your real estate business and go to the next level and
Why
hire
would you
staff
want it?
and build systems? Like,
What would be the benefit? How would your life improve?
yes,
So you can get more money, no?
so you can get more money.
I love it,
Okay.
T. So you can get more money,
So,
T.
Why? Why do you want more money?
You gotta wanna have more business
To do what?
to have a better life.
What is
There you
that
go.
life like? Why?
Have more freedom.
What is the freedom gonna do for you?
I think it's all about efficiency. When you create that system, you'll be able to.
What will the efficiency do for you?
So I answered before, because I gotta run out to an appointment at 7:30, the 30-minute drive. So for me to scale my business, I'm new as a dad, 3-year-old, my stepdaughter, so it gives me back time. Just retired from my full-time job, been doing real estate full-time now, like you guys know my story a little bit. But now that I'm a full-time agent, I'm trying to scale because I wanna get back the time I missed. My daughter's 3, I didn't pretty much see her grow up. I was either doing real estate for 12 and at the airline for 16 hours a day.
Sure.
So now that I'm focusing on listings, I'm scaling, doing kind of what you guys said you're doing. I'm focusing on that now, having certain people to a certain extent that I could delegate to.
Yeah.
Because I understand that's the best use of my time, but for me, getting the more money, like she said, because to create the lifestyle I want, but also once when I get to that lifestyle, that's it. It's just that quick facade, you get that happy pleasure moment for 20, 30 minutes, and then it's gone. But I have goals in life as well, which involves money and right connections as well.
What you want has to hurt more than staying the same.
Yes.
And so for you, you mentioned you want to watch your daughter grow up, because if you miss it, that's going to hurt more than staying the same, right? You're working all day, you're going to miss your kid growing up, you won't spend time with them, and then it's too late. Working all day, like for me, it's freedom, but freedom to do what? To do whatever I want, but to be there with my family, right? To be there with my loved ones, because we don't work just to work.
Yeah, and
We don't work just to make money. It's not about the money. It's about what the money can do for us.
And you
right?
have to be aware of that why to be able to take the steps. But if I were to, and another way to put it is, can you find a job tomorrow or in the next week that can pay you exactly how much you make in real estate last year? If the answer is yes, like why then are you doing real estate? Usually one is you want to be your own boss, right? You don't want to be told what to do. The other one is time freedom, you mentioned, right? That's a big deal. But you don't get any of those unless you scale your business. Because if not, you're going to find yourself, like I know a lot of agents, doing the same volume, the same transactions, the same income every year. So I'm going to the specifics. Yeah. Who here has a transaction coordinator?
No. Okay.
We have 2 people in the room. My question to the other people, why don't you have a transaction coordinator?
Which one of the assassins caused you not to have it? Saving.
You can outsource that service, and you know that you can charge that to your clients. Do you know that? So why don't you have a transaction coordinator?
It's normal. Since when do mortgage brokers not have a processing fee? Same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing.
The things that came to mind when I didn't have one and I knew that I had to have at least a transaction coordinator is like, oh, I can do it myself. So that's the first step, guys. Everyone here, regardless of how many transactions you've done, you should have a transaction coordinator.
Period.
If you don't know any transactions, come see me after, I can refer you. But you need to have somebody in your team taking care of the transactions, regardless if you're in the buyer side or in the listing side.
We've had one that sucked.
You had one? Yeah, there's so many of them.
Here's what happens. Like, okay, let me ask you a question. It's like when people say, I had an agent and they were terrible. Well, if you put your hand in a bag of apples and you pulled out one with a worm, and you're like, that's it, I'm never gonna eat an apple again.
Yeah.
Or I could keep reaching in the bag until I find a good one, right?
So that happened to me too. I've had a few transaction coordinator before I hate this one that I feel comfortable. The same way, you're not gonna feel comfortable working with the same, everybody has a different type of bilingual too. The second question will be, and correct me if I'm wrong, the very first thing that you need to leverage is listings. Who here is inputting their own listings on the MLS?
You are putting them in yourself.
You are putting your own listings. Raise your hands.
Yep, raise them.
Yeah, majority of us. Why?
Well, not anymore.
Yeah.
Not anymore. There you go. And that service you can outsource too. You can pay somebody a flat fee and they can input the information for you. Who here, raise your hand. I want you to be honest and raise your hand. Who here answers their calls from the MLS? Has their phone number on the MLS and answer all the calls?
Yeah.
Why is that? That will be the next step of scaling, having somebody that answers the phones for you, and you can outsource that. If you really want to measure the amount of time that it takes answering all these phone calls that I'm telling you, have a timer next to you, and every time that somebody calls you, just put it on. Measure that time. I'm telling you, on a daily basis, it's gonna equal to hours that you spend on the phone. If you wanna have somebody full-time, which is the next step, if you don't wanna pay fees, you hire an assistant. Who here has an assistant? There you go.
Oh, just people making all the money, I see.
We have all these things that you can outsource through a flat fee to somebody else. There's companies that they do that. But if you get to a point that you're producing enough, that's the next step. You hire a VA. It doesn't have to be here, guys. A VA, it's anywhere between $700 to $1,000 per month, right? If you don't have somebody, you can ask literally the person next to you, and they can probably get you somebody from their country. Which again, all my staff, it's not in the country. You can do it at 20 deals in a year, if you think about it. If you make $100,000 and pay $10,000 to a VA, the time that free up for you so you can make more money, is it worth it? It is.
Of course it is. And the cool part about hiring the VAs is you can actually be overstaffed.
Yeah.
I would prefer to be overstaffed because that means everything's got like a hand on it, like or multiple hands on it, right?
Yeah.
Because they're so inexpensive. You could have more than one for the cost. You could probably have three for the cost of like one physical person. Yeah, and all of my staff when I was selling real estate at high volume, they were all remote. They worked from home. I didn't see my assistant. I would have like a year go by and never actually see her like physically, even though she lived like 10 minutes away from me. I never would see the transaction coordinator till the Christmas party. Because let me ask you guys a question. From 2020 to 2021, did any of you guys go to the office? I'm sorry, what?
No.
Let me ask you a question. Did it matter? No. This whole horse shit that like we have to like be physical. We don't live in that world anymore, guys.
When hiring, whether it's VAs or people here or people there, it doesn't matter. You gotta treat them as an employee. To have an employee, you must be able to train them. You must have the resources for them. You must be checking in on them. They are a representation of you, your firm, your brand, your whatever, right? I have people in California, I have people in Florida, I have people in Ecuador, in Venezuela, I have people in the Philippines. I have a nice, well-rounded team. And depending on what it is, that's where they are and, you know, for what I need. The point of me telling you that is they're all treated the same. They all have 3 weeks of onboarding where they're not touching a phone call, they're practicing, they are doing dummy like files or dummy emails or dummy conversations. We test them to make sure they're ready to go live.
Exactly. And what I would suggest to you is like if you're going to have them answer the phone, write a script.
Oh yeah, scripts are critical.
Pick up the phone. It's a great day at the Novello Group. How can I help you? Is Aaron there? He's actually on an appointment right now. Can I help you with something? Yeah, I want to see this property off 1565 Main Street. Awesome. Have you already been pre-approved? You know what I'm saying? Like tell them what to say. And then you know what they do? They fill out a Google form with all the answers. And then they fucking text it to you. And then you're like, oh, this is what the deal is. And then you can handle it when it's appropriate. Does that make sense? So the real issue is, and that's a really good point, it's like, it's not just hiring a human. You need to create a system and scripts for the human to follow.
For them to thrive in their position,
And
because
what
you want
most
them to well.
The next step is building SOPs, standard operation procedures, which is basically manuals and instructions. If you don't have any staff, if you don't have any systems, you're doing everything yourself. Everything is here. But once you start putting down everything in paper is when you realize the amount of details that we agents deal on a daily basis. So I had to physically lay down, close my eyes, and just walk through a process. So I received the call, I pre-qual, I set an appointment, I send SOSOR email confirming. That's a process, an email confirmation for an appointment. I meet with them. I have to reserve the place where I need to meet them. I have to bring paperwork for them to sign. That's a process. If I forget the paper on a listing, I'm screwed. I go through my questions. I explain the contract. So I had to go with everything. And from there is when you start building your SOPs and you start putting process in place.
And so you have the master list, and then each one of those things has a how-to, right? How to prepare for a listing appointment, what to pack with you. As time passes, the more layered you can get and the more fine-tuned your procedures will get. Then once they're built out that way, the ability to delegate becomes so much easier.
Well, and you can delegate freely because I trust the system. I don't
Exactly.
trust you. You can do a standard operating procedure and then shoot a video explaining it to somebody. And then they can just do what? Watch it. What do you do when you try to figure something out? You go to YouTube and you want to watch it, correct? So you create a system, shoot Loom videos. That's a program that will allow you to do it. BombBomb has a screen.
Zoom, record your screen, upload it to the cloud. It's super
Just
easy.
show them. So look, you remember, I'm sorry, your name over here?
Hi,
Sonia. Sonia. So you were like, yeah, I input all listings. So what you could do is the next listing you input, do a screen record showing
Yes.
yourself doing it. You understand? Then take AI and transcribe you talking over it while you're showing them what to do.
Yeah.
Then you hire a VA and be like, do that. Does that make sense?
And when you're building these SOPs or PSPs, policies, systems, procedures, templates, guides, all that stuff, right? These all the things that we're great. Sometimes you don't have the time to build so much before you need the help. So here's what I suggest you do. Do it on the spot. So teach them once while you're there. Have them write it out for you. Have them build it out for you.
I would propose if you're going to do it on the spot and have them do it, record it.
Yeah, exactly. You have to record it. Then they watch it, they type it, they clean it up, you review it. Yeah, it looks good. Go for it.
And what you're doing simultaneously without realizing it is, you know what ends up happening too, is that we hire people, we know they're not good, but we don't want to fire them because we don't want to train them again.
Oh yeah, they hold you
end up with,
hostage.
like, it's like not breaking up with somebody because they're like, oh my God, my friend's in this house, I can't break up with
these
him.
bar guys, once you get to this bar, it's boring. Like, I hate the process, the operations part of my business. What I like is this, the face-to-face, the selling. That's what most of us sign up for, right? To be on the open houses and be on the videos and social media. But this part is what's gonna allow you to get to the next level. And this is boring. I remember.
It's boring until it frees up your time and then you geek out over it.
Well, no, for me, still boring. For me, still boring.
No, I geek out over it now.
Now I see the value.
How do we automate this? How do we systematize?
but
How do I not have to explain this ever again in my
Yeah,
life?
but you're different. You're different.
I'm the other way. I need someone to keep me organized because I do everything super fast. So I'm the opposite. I need someone to keep me organized because I get off track a lot. I try to do everything super fast.
So I remember when I started building the SOPs with Aaron, I literally took like a Saturday morning, and with my brother, he was the one that I decided to hire part-time, that then came on board full-time. Myself, him and my wife would literally sit down, and I had to lay down and close my eyes and walk them through the process from start to finish when I worked with buyers and sellers. Literally, it's like my wife was asking me, she helped me build the SOPs. Okay, so what do you do once you get the call? I get the call, I pre-qual the buyer. I had to do it with my eyes closed because everything was in my mind.
We all agree that McDonald's does not make the best burger, right? Mm-hmm. Okay.
I love McDonald's.
Okay, well, that's you, bro. You gotta get out more, dude. But here's what's interesting. Their system is so good, they can hire people and pay them $7 an hour, and it tastes the same every single time. If you watch their system, they have to go to like school, where it's like, yo, cook the burger at this heat for specifically this amount of time in this oil. As soon as you take it out, put the buns, warm them up at this temperature for this length of time, for this many seconds. Then use this amount of ketchup, this many pickles, this many, like, it is systematized. So you go anywhere in the country, it's gonna taste the same.
Did you watch the movie of the creation of that and how like they put everything in positions in the way to make it the most like ergonomically like being able to be the most efficient?
Right, so that's what's happening here. You're just doing it in this business.
Any questions so far with all this?
One great tool we have now to build these things is ChatGPT.
Yes.
Use it to start and then you fine tune. It's amazing what that thing could do for you. So say, I want to build a system, I'm a real estate agent, I want to build a system for da-da-da-da-da, or a template this for da-da-da-da-da, and then you just say, and you give it all this information, put what you have, just dump on it, and then it creates something for you that you can just fine tune it, and you save like 30 minutes, 40 minutes,
And then-
maybe more.
And then the next level is how many people here have a CRM that they use regularly? How interesting. I thought we were all agents here. Isn't that interesting?
Uh-huh.
I used to be super anti-CRM.
Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah, you guys are all paper? Is that what you're doing? Yeah, you going to appointments on a horse? You using like an abacus for the net sheet? Like, what are we doing, guys? This is like 2024, bro. Like, what are you doing? So, if you have a CRM like Follow Up Boss, which is what we use, you can create these SOPs, but then it's triggered when
actions.
It's a workflow. So in other words, like when somebody goes from a potential listing to an active listing, that SOP that you created automatically pops up as a task list, and the listing coordinator goes down and checks all the boxes. So, and you, as little Miss Margarita, can go and say, what are you doing? You don't have to call anybody. You don't have to ask anybody. You
just
can
look.
watch it as it's happening. Does that make sense to you? You do the same thing with pendings. So when it goes from active listing to a pending listing, bam, checklist pops up. Somebody goes right down the checklist and just follows it.
It's boring, but it's worth it.
Oh, so
I mean, in your case,
It's the only way to do volume, guys. It's the only way.
Yeah, it's the only way.
To grow and expand. And when you think about it, okay, in the office that I was with an office, I owned part of an office. I was there for 15 years. Out of 130 agents, there were 9 that made over $100,000 a year. You notice the energy in the room? That's a fact, team. That's at any office across the country. 9. And 6 of them were right at 100. And then there was like 300, 500, and me. What we're talking about right here is the reason why.
yes.
Do you understand what I'm saying, Ian? Yes, deep breath in. Inhale, exhale.
If you
It's
don't,
the reason why.
if you don't, put it this way, if you don't get to, because we answered the question of why scaling, right? Because you want the time freedom, right? And to spend it with your time for your family and stuff. If you don't do these things, then you're better off finding a job. And
Well, and the math that I like to use is this, okay? Because people give me all these different reasons. Like, why do you do this? They're like, I love houses. I'm like, that's disgusting. You know how many houses I've been into and I'm like, I have to burn my suit because they had a cat farm? Right? Or they're like, I love people. I'm like, that's gross. You haven't dealt with enough people. Right? Why do we do this, guys? Why? Who wants to say it? Oh my God. You notice the hesitancy? No.
that's a mindset issue in and of
I'm
itself.
higher than that. I have a higher calling. Like, give me a fucking break. You do this because you want to make money, no? And you can make a lot of money doing this, correct? Okay. When I say people, how much money you want to make? Everybody says 100,000. Right? You know why they say that? Why do they think that that's a lot of money? No, because their parents thought it was a lot of money. Because you know what? 30 years ago, it was. You know how much a house cost 30 years ago? Like 100 grand. You know how much a car cost 30 years ago? Like 8,000 bucks. Let me ask you a question. You make $100,000 in income, right? You have expenses, business expenses, do you not? Okay, let's call that 20. You have 80 left. And then you also pay taxes on that money, don't you? Okay, so maybe you have 50 left. You have to pay housing, transportation, food, and insurance. How much money is left, guys? Guys, look at me and answer me. How much? Can anybody who is the president, regardless of who they are, fix that? No. Who can fix it?
but then you
Is
get
it that what you're talking about?
Yes, kind of. He just explained it better.
One of the biggest things that I learned in all my years of figuring shit out is taking personal responsibility for our failures. And I think not being afraid of the failure, and then embracing the failure because you fix it, you learn it, you move on, right? Reflect and you go on. But we have a really hard time taking responsibility. It's the market, it's the lawsuit, it's the interest rates, it's this, it's that. Dude, producers are gonna produce and excusers are gonna excuse themselves. So now that we're here and we're talking about what are we gonna do, what are you guys gonna implement? What are we changing? What are we doing?
Like, okay, what would be something you would implement? Let's stay with that for a second. From this talk.
I like what I call a company, and they respond fast. I get a text, I get a confirmation, I get an email, I get the follow-up, and
How does that make you feel?
it makes me feel like I need to implement those same things.
Well, no, I'm saying when you're on the receiving end, how does that feel?
It makes me feel special. It makes me feel like I'm valued.
How interesting. And that's a good feeling, no?
Yes.
Yes. Because we are actually feeling beings that think. We are not thinking beings that feel. That think. We are not thinking beings that feel. So that makes you feel good,
Yeah.
right? So being that that's the case, you're saying to yourself, okay, I need to hire someone so I can implement that. Or implement some sort of technology that will allow me to do that.
Correct.
Good for you. What else is something that somebody would implement from what we talked about today?
I think having a VA or getting help, finally
Great.
trusting people is kind of hard.
Okay, so when are you gonna reach out to a VA?
As soon as I get it,
Okay. And what happens if you don't?
I'm gonna continue doing the same thing that I'm doing right now. or
I know that, but
something the same thing.
is there somebody in your life that you actually care what they think?
Yeah.
Can you tell those people that you're gonna hire a VA?
Yeah.
Okay, and then report back to them when you do it? Okay, good. Who else?
That's accountability.
I have two things. I recently got a listing, and
Yeah, you got a listing, let's go.
and I'm kind of like, no, I want to be there overlooking everything, but I realized that a transaction coordinator would have saved me so much time.
Sure.
And same thing with, I like the idea of having somebody input into the MLS, because for whatever reason, whenever I'm inputting the listings, it should take me 15 minutes, but I end up zoning out and it takes me like 2.5 hours.
Right.
So that's another thing that I want to implement in my business.
Love that. So then what needs to happen? Who do you need to call? What do you need to do? Do you need a referral for a transaction coordinator?
Need a referral.
Okay, so talk to Brian, and then who can you find to do, actually, the person that Brian's gonna refer you to, more likely than not, can also do the inputting of the
MLS.
listing.
Yeah, a lot of the transaction coordinator companies, they charge you again a flat fee to input on the
So then,
MLS.
your actionable step is to get that referral from him, correct? Good. Who else? Actionable step, what are you gonna do? Mira,
Scale,
Margarita,
guys.
nothing? Por favor.
Look, and also when you're building out like a workflow, right? Just while you're thinking about what you're gonna do. Brian took the whole Saturday morning to do it, but you don't have to do that. If you need to, just as you start your next lead, just follow what you're doing and document. Just dump it on a sheet, and then you can turn it into a system.
Yeah.
You know-
Don't like take. What I don't want you guys to do, it's very important, is don't stop prospecting to build systems. Okay? Don't get stuck in the weeds and not do it. So you have to do a little bit at a time, carve out some time each day. Now you talked about planning.
Yeah.
Or do it on the weekend.
Do it on the weekends when usually realtors are showing.
me.
Not you, but most are. So find the time and carve it out in your day and commit to a certain amount of hours each week to work on this project or that project, whatever you think
Like,
will
do it
move the
instead of
needle.
watching Netflix.
Exactly.
What I've done before is I've recorded myself going through the motions, and then I've critiqued myself to see how I can get it better, how I would tell someone to do it better than I have.
That's good. Yes,
So
ma'am.
I've actually done this before, previous business anyway, so you can record yourself talking the steps out loud, and then go back to the video, do closed caption, and then actually either script it out.
I love it.
Have Google script it out.
So I'm curious, so
or-
you've done this in a previous vocation, did you ever think to do it here?
I'm just getting started.
Good, so then don't have bad habits, start right now.
Start fresh.
And look around. There's not a set instruction on how to build SOPs, right? That's the beauty
Yeah,
of
and
it.
what's
You're
super
gonna
cool-
build it based on the way that you want them to be done.
And-
So that's why you have to be intentional on putting the time to build it yourself.
Yeah, what's super cool is you come from a corporate environment, I imagine, so you know everything that we're saying is accurate.
Yeah,
Because-
I'm actually still having. the-
Because that is what
Okay.
real businesses actually do, right? So, I mean, it's an incredible advantage that you have. Just do it from the beginning.
And I know that some of you might think, well, I don't have enough in my plate to scale. Well, that's great. That means that you have the time to build the SOPs, to put the processes, to whenever the business comes, you have everything set up.
So how do you go through the motions of hiring the photographer, making sure you know, contacting the photographers, inspectors?
Yeah, so
you
good.
show up
So
to the inspectors?
do the same thing. So think about this. If your body is the hardware, your brain is the software. Problem is nobody has access to your software. How do you give people access to your software? Get it out of your head. So make a list of the vendors that you use. And on that list, you say from 2 to 500,000, we use this package and this photographer. From 500 to 1 million, we use this package and this photographer. You see what I'm saying? With the phone numbers or the website on how to book it. Then do a video showing somebody.
And there's
how to
gonna
do
be
it.
things.
Does that make sense? So walk through systematically what you do, put it on paper, preferably a Word document, not like in the physical world, because this isn't 1920. And then put a video next to it showing somebody what you're telling them. Does that make sense? Then you can hire the VA and be like, do that please. And it decreases the chances that they're gonna mess it up.
Yeah.
Make
and,
sense?
And there are gonna be things obviously that you're gonna miss to tell them, and they're gonna happen in the moment, and then just add it to. You're always gonna find yourself going back to the SOP and adding stuff or changing stuff, you know. But you have to. That's throughout the process. You're gonna realize what needs to be on and not.
You were talking about the plate. You know, you don't have as much on my plate, so I don't have to do it, or now's a good time to do it. The reality is you'll never scale until you're ready for the scaling.
Yeah.
Because what's gonna happen is, even if you get the work, you won't be able to service it right. So it's not gonna keep giving you more fruit, right? Because a good transaction will give you more recommendations, will make you meet more people, will, you know, bear fruit. But you're not going to bear fruit if you don't give good service. And you could only manage so many transactions in your head. So you need to be ready for the volume for the business before it comes, so that you give the quality of service that will give you the referrals, the introductions, the hey, me, my mom, or whatever the case may be.
And be able to realize that you need to scale and not get stuck in that same, loophole.
Yeah, and I think what this leads to is people think staying small is safe. It is not. Listen to what I just said to you. People think that staying small is safe. It is not. Getting very big is very safe. Being very small is not safe.
It feels safer because it's what you know.
No, and you're in control, but it's not.
Yeah.
You're the one that's easily going to get stomped out very easily and quickly. You see what I'm saying? You're actually getting bigger is what creates security, not staying small. But that is an internal thing you have to resist, because all of us, 70% of us, guys, listen to what I'm saying to you. If you're at Starbucks, 7 out of 10 people live paycheck to paycheck. It's very difficult to move away from that and think like, no, I need to get big, not stay small.
Yep.
Because we were told staying small is what? Don't make too much noise, don't stand out, don't make a fuss, get a pension. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
So this is the beauty of scaling. Like, again, I like when Aaron, he always say, like, he doesn't like the word coach. It's more like an uncle. What do you say? A rich uncle?
A rich uncle.
A rich uncle, meaning somebody that already walked the walk and is just showing you so you can do it in less time or better, right? So how is your business now? Because in my case, my example, and this is the beauty, once you create and go through this process, now I told you, 3 people full time. And then I hire a transaction coordinator per transaction. So I have a listing coordinator. She takes care of the listings, follow up with the clients. I don't have to, once I sign that listing, I just throw it at her and she takes care of everything until closing. Agents call her through the MLS. She answers all the questions. If she needs me, then she contacts me. But we already have SOPs where whenever I bring the listing, I give her all the details. I put her in contact with the seller. And then if she has questions, sometimes she even reach out to the seller directly. So I only get to touch that deal once we get an offer and we get under contract. After that, I send it back and then see you at closing, which is usually at Melinda's office. So that's one. The other person that I have an operations manager. It's my brother, and he takes care, he supervises everything too, making sure that they're doing their job. He helps me with the marketing that we do. We do a lot of social media. We're hosting a lot of events. That's another way to build your business too. You can hire a manager, a supervisor. Usually it's not the trend, it's not how you do it, I've noticed in real estate, but it's another way. And the third person that I recently, maybe 6 months, a full-time video editor. I'm doing a lot of content on social media. Recording yourself, once you get comfortable being in front of the camera, is not the difficult part. It's editing the clips and putting it out there. I'm doing it at a volume, like Aaron is doing too, that you need somebody that does it. Either you outsource it or you bring it full staff. But that's at least in my case, that I'm being intentional and aggressive on social media. In your case, if you focus your business maybe on networking, maybe you need somebody that helps you do events like this and coordinate events with the food, with the drinks, securing the location.
To follow up with everybody.
To follow up, to create the Eventbrite list. You know what I mean? All of that.
These are all SOPs too.
Regardless, all of this is SOPs. It's just that depending on the business, then you know which type of SOPs you need.
So once you sign a listing agreement, you delegate the communication with the seller?
Pretty much, yeah. It has to be, a very, very picky seller that that wants me to be in communication, but most of the time I just put it in communication. And the reality is that you don't need a much interaction between seller and herself. They just want maybe updates or showings. Hey, somebody's want to show this property. You can send that in a text.
And I imagine when it comes time to ask for a price adjustment, it's you though.
Yes, that's when I jump in. When it comes to price reductions, I jump in. I try to call sellers once a week to give them an update on their property, and whatever it is going on, and whenever it's time to a price reduction. And obviously to discuss offers. Because anything that has to do with the negotiations.
That's doctor work.
That's doctor work.
Whenever I say that, my wife's like, you're not a doctor. I'm like, I'm a doctor of selling. So that's doctor work, which is having those conversations.
But everything, think about it like this. Anything that you can put that is not negotiations, that you can put in a piece of paper, that can follow a process that doesn't have to be you can leverage and pass it on. Trust me, that's when the magic happens.
Let me ask you guys a question. Do any of you guys ever have clients that only want to work with you?
They don't want to interact with
We
anybody
usually
else.
don't take those clients.
Yeah.
The question is, have you ever had a client that doesn't want to work with anybody else or interact with anybody else other than yourself?
Or they get charged a premium,
Yeah.
like on the legal side.
I haven't honestly.
Yeah, I do, sure.
I get a lot of those. I tell them they do their job better than I would do their job. Like if they don't want to speak to my processor, they speak to me. They do their job better than I do.
So we, like our transaction coordinator, like rock star. And when they would get pushback, I'm like, yeah, I appreciate that. She's been with me for all like 2,000 transactions. Truthfully, she's better at it than I am. So I oversee the process, but she will be the point of contact moving forward. Make sense? And they're like, no, I guess not.
Usually is setting the expectations. Even as soon as you sign that listing or sign that buyer, you set the expectations. Okay, perfect. We're ready to work together. So just so you know, my assistant, my listing coordinator, my transaction, she's gonna be contacting you. She's awesome. She's gonna be available for you. So whenever I cannot pick up your call, he's gonna be there. So you can be in touch with us 24 hours. You know what I mean? Like it's setting the expectations so they don't think and expect that you are the one that has to be in
And
contact.
the same thing, and here's how I would word it, language-wise, right? So when I first started doing this, I didn't do a transition, so people would be like, who the hell is Donna? Like, why is she calling us?
Yeah.
It's a handoff. You gotta
Because I didn't do a baton handoff. And there's just a little language that you can use. It's like, great, now that we have a fully executed agreement, my assistant, her name is Donna. She's my personal assistant, which makes her your personal assistant to the transaction.
That's good.
She's gonna be reaching out to you within 24 to 48 hours, introducing herself. She's gonna be the one that schedules appraisals and inspections. She reports to me regularly and I oversee the process. She'll be the point of contact moving forward. And
That's
they're
a script, guys.
Okay, yeah,
That's a
and I
script.
say it 10, 15 times a month, every single time. And the thing you have to understand is people are looking to be led. Our job is to lead them. If you don't believe me, watch what would happen. If we were in a place, like let's say, that place up here that's got all the restaurants, and a group of people, we all stood outside and we looked up, within 10 minutes we'd have a crowd of people looking up like, what the hell are you looking at? People are looking to be led. You ever seen those videos where somebody's like, oh my God, there's somebody famous? It's just like a dude and then like the whole mall like goes nuts? Yeah. It's just like some guy. People are looking to be led. Our job is to lead them. But we are afraid to do it because we're like, oh, if I tell them what to do, they're gonna get mad and like blah, blah, blah. But like, they don't do this 10 times a month. They do it like once every 10 years. They're like, oh, this is the way it's done? You're like, yeah. And they're like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
You had a question?
Setting expectations, yeah.
No? Oh, I thought you did.
So you delegate.
This is blowing this guy's mind. So wait a minute, let me get this straight. Once you get all this paperwork, you don't talk to him again? Oh my God. This is fantastic.
So you delegate the part of having somebody else go to the appraisals, inspections.
100%, bro.
Everything.
Let me ask you a question. Are you a professional inspector?
No.
Then why the hell would you be there? Are you a professional appraiser? And is it illegal to try to influence an appraiser?
Yes.
So why do you go? I know why, to try to justify your commission.
Appraisers hate that, by the way. Don't give them comps.
Yeah. So
That's the only reason why you go, guys.
I got one asking to come.
so
Which is fine, but let him ask you. But I'm just aware, guys, listen to me. I sold 2,000 homes in my career, okay? 2,000. You know how many times I went to an appraisal?
You went from the beginning?
Zero.
Not the first one.
Zero. Zero. Zip zilch. I'm not an appraiser, bro. I'm curious. Did you go to school to be an appraiser? So then what the hell are you doing there? I didn't go to one home inspection. Didn't go to one walkthrough.
You have to make sure they appraise the house.
No, you can't. You have no influence.
You have
over
no
that.
control.
It is illegal to try to influence that, brother.
somebody
Understand what I'm saying to you?
somebody said that you can to bring the comparables. Well, again, I know that you see a different. You can bring the comparables, but you can also email the comparables.
Yeah, bro. Why do you gotta be there?
If you really
like,
think.
oh, Here's like that's gonna like influence them? No.
If you really want to share the comparables, you don't have to be in the property to share it. Like, I'm not there. What I do is, and again, to what Aaron said is true, it's illegal to try to influence. Now, it's not illegal to share comparables. Some appraisals, they even ask you for comparables. Now, the conversation is, Mr. Appraisal, they're the ones reaching out. Hey, I receive an appraisal request. I want to go to your property. I'm like, okay, do you have access to Supra? A lot of them, they have access to the Supra. Well, if the property is occupied, I send somebody to meet with them, right? If they have to be there. If not, the seller can open the door for them. It's a 15-minute situation there. But you want to send the comparables, the conversation, Mr. Appraisal, okay, perfect. The seller is going to open the door for you on Friday at 4 p.m. Is it okay if I share with you some recent sales that we consider to price this unit? 99% of the time, they're going to say yes. And then, okay, can you please text me your email and I'll send it to you? I don't have to be there to bring up comparables.
Right.
Yes. So can you also delegate showing on this?
Of course.
I literally have. This is how I do my showings.
Hey, here's a really good way. Here's a really good way to emphasize something.
I'm still at the appraisal part.
Yes.
What if your seller, your client, is asking you to open a door for them because they don't want to deal with it?
Then send somebody.
You can send somebody. You can literally send.
Mira, he sends a group chat because we have over 300 agents. He sends a group chat. Who wants to open a door for $50? Somebody's like,
guys, that's how I started real estate. When I started, I didn't have any deals on the table. You know, I was new even in the country. I barely speak the language. I needed to make money. So what I did was I started showing properties and going on appraisals and meeting photographers for a big real estate team in my office. So what they did is, all these agents that they were super busy with deals, they call me, hey Brian, can you show that property? $30. They used to pay $30 per door. So I had the time, I needed to make the money. So I jump in my car and just show properties. I used to make, I don't know, $400, $500 per week just showing properties. What was that? There's even an application right now where you can pay a flat fee for another agent, another licensed agent that can do that for you. So you don't have to be there. What I do, I don't have the application. I've heard about the application. I literally have a WhatsApp group.
Somewhere up north.
So
can I make a suggestion? Use it for somewhere around here.
Yeah. So I have a WhatsApp group with like 30 to 40 agents, and the sole purpose of that group is every time that I have to do a showing, an appraisal, or meet for a photographer, I just post it there, the day, the time, the property, and I say I'm paying $30. And guess what? Agents raise their hand if they wanna. It's like an Uber service. They wanna do it.
But do you see how doing these little things are basically up here? What would stop you from doing it? The saver, the staller. You see what I'm saying? The supervisor. I feel like I have to be there.
I travel a lot. That WhatsApp group saved me a lot because it's like, well, I'm gone. Somebody else is showing my buyers properties.
Yes.
I'm not losing the opportunity. That's exactly what this is about, time freedom. I've done that multiple times. Outside of the country, somebody else is showing properties for me.
So not a question, but a comment on what you guys are talking about right now.
Yeah.
My corporate background, I'm currently a business consultant for an HR company.
Good.
Part of my spiel is showing value to the business owner, why he needs to get our services.
Sure.
And sometimes it's difficult, sometimes it's easy to show them how much time.
Yeah.
What is that time consumption costing them?
Yeah.
So you're spending 6 to 10 hours in HR. What could you be doing to grow your business?
And what I would propose is the vast majority of those business owners have one of those 5 assassins that are still
Majority
causing.
have all of them.
All of them, right?
Yes,
And that's what you're overcoming.
yes.
Exactly.
So with real estate, it's the same thing.
It's the same exact thing.
It's the same thing.
What is that showing or inspection or appraisal costing you? Is it really costing you the gas money of going there?
Well-
Or is it costing you another listing?
Yes.
$500,000 listing, $1
Yes.
million listing?
Yes. So what I figured out, because I would analyze the numbers, is me being on the phone prospecting is like $750 an hour.
Yeah, that was my next one. A lot of people don't do that. I did this a lot.
You
know,
do
the
that
hourly
calculation.
rate.
Yeah, I knew what it was. Like I know it's $750 an hour. Now to be on a group coaching call, it might be like $6,000 an hour. So what I'm aware of is when I knew that, okay, let me ask you a question. If there was a stock that normally traded at $750, but it was trading at like $50, and you knew it was really worth $750, how much of the $50 stock would you buy?
All of it.
All of it. Do that with your time. You understand? If I know my time's worth $750, I should be willing to buy my time for anything less than that. It's gonna cost me $250 an hour to hire you? Fine. It's gonna cost me $100 to have somebody cut the grass? Fine. You understand what I'm saying? Because trust me, that spills out into other things too.
But you pay somebody to show the property for you because you're buying that time back. What are you supposed to be doing with that time back?
Be productive, not
Prospecting, doing the income producing activities. And if you know that you're not gonna be doing those income producing activities, that's when you're like, I'd rather go and show the property. And that's an analysis that you don't consciously do in your brain.
or
But that's
you
what's
have
happening.
Or you have an internal conflict with the actual activities. So you end up doing creative avoidance behavior. Creative avoidances is where you create something to do to make you feel like you're working and you're actually not. You're not being productive. Because remember, you only get paid to do 4 things. What are they? Prospect, lead follow-up, go on appointments, negotiate deals. That's it.
Love that. Have these been valuable? Have you enjoyed it? All right. So I want to close it up with final thoughts. Melinda, starting with you. Final thoughts on scaling from experience. What do you want to leave this room with?
I think what I want you all to remember is that growing a business is a daily battle, right? No matter what business it is, we're battling. What we're battling is ourselves. And so figuring out your internal battles, whether you ignore the battle or you stuff it in a closet or put it in a drawer, it's still gonna be there. So we have to go deep. We gotta figure out what our tendencies are, what our defaults are in how we behave to be able to rewire our brains. And that takes time, and that takes reflection, and that takes mentorship, and that takes coaching, and that takes reading, and then just executing, right? And putting things in place to create yourself an environment to thrive. So all these things are really good systems. Some of you probably learned something new, but a lot of the things we're talking about are not secrets. They're not rocket science. So we need to implement, and sometimes we're afraid to do that for one of these 5 demons or whatever we call assassins. And so that's why we go back to what's it all about? Like what are we doing this for? Why are we afraid? What's stopping us? And really spending time on that, I'm telling you, it'll be worth its money in gold or more, because once you break through on that, you'll really start to see your lives change. Personal and financial and business lives will change once you start to do that.
Love that.
And because that's what it's all, it's not just money, it's about how you're living your life. You're probably showing up in that same fear in other things in your life as well.
And let me say that getting proximity with Melinda, guys, like she's a great, I don't know, I generally don't know anybody in my life that is such a great planner like yourself. Like for real, like she's planning everything. She has SOPs for everything. So anything that has to do with systems, just talk to her. Just talk to her. And she's a giver, guys. So take advantage of
I won't just close your deals, I'll help you with a lot of other stuff too.
Novello, what do you got for me?
Dear Novello.
Yeah.
Dear Novello.
Yeah, come on, man.
You gotta keep it up.
Accomplishing anything is 80% psychology and 20% mechanics.
Yeah.
It's 80% what's going on in here, and mental maps and beliefs, which are just opinions that you've developed loyalty to, and then 20% the technical component. And doing is better than watching. We have become a whole generation that just watches. You will watch people on YouTube. You'll watch people you'll watch people do what you want to do. But the way that you learn is by actually doing, not watching. Right? And it's not 10,000 hours, it's 10,000 iterations. You have to be willing to screw something up a lot to get really good at it.
Yep. And guys, if you don't follow Aaron Novello on Instagram, social media, just follow the guy. I mean, the reason Aaron is truly the example of scaling, because again, once he found the formula on scaling the business and hiring the right people, it's what you use with that free time, that time that you bought back, right? And he did that for 20 years, hundreds of thousands of transactions in the 20 years.
Thousands, yeah. But who's counting? I don't know.
But who's counting, right? In my case, final thought, it comes down to one decision. You gotta make the decision. It could be, if you don't even have a transaction coordinator, that's the first step. You have to hire somebody that transact all your transactions, that coordinate all your transactions. And it's like rentals. I made the decision a long time ago, I'm not gonna work with rentals. It's not worth my time, period. So I know that some of you might already make that decision, right? So for Aaron, even from the beginning, he said, I'm not gonna work with buyers. He has never shown a property, guys, never, to a buyer. So that's a decision.
Well, here's what's true. I did, but for 15 years I did not. I did not own an e-key. I couldn't even show property if you wanted me to.
So he made the decision, I'm only gonna work with listings. Right. So you gotta make the decision, the same thing with scaling. I'm gonna hire that assistant. We're gonna hold you accountable to that. I'm gonna hire that VA. I'm gonna hire that transaction coordinator, that listing coordinator. I'm gonna outsource my showings if you're there. I'm gonna outsource my appraisals, my photography, to free up that time and then do the income producing activities with that time. Because if you hire everybody and outsource and don't do the other part, then, yep.
I have a webinar that I did for agents last year on demand. I'll share it with you guys since I have the list. It's about hiring a VA and using a VA, so it can get you started thinking about different things to think about.
Love it. And before I finish with my friend Eric here, you remind me about the webinar. There's a piece of paper in your tables. That is the next event that I'm having. An amazing event about real estate investing. I put that program alongside with my investors, and we teach you guys on how to search and put together investment deals. That's another way that for me is a big deal when it comes to scaling. I'm heavy into working with investors because I find that it's way easier than working with traditional buyers and sellers. So just sign up. It's gonna be next week. It's gonna be great.
So my two biggest takeaways are: don't get complacent and don't forget why you started, right? Because a lot of people, once they get to the part where they have to start scaling, they get comfortable and they forget why they started. No one started becoming a realtor just to close 12 deals a year, right? Everybody had the long vision of buying 20 properties and being able to retire and all that stuff, right? Don't get complacent in your, in your success. Keep your system in place. What is it? Fight your 5 demons or whatever it is. And your 5 assassins. And and don't forget why you started. It's very simple.
You should just change it to demons.
Yeah, it's fine.
Demon sounds better.
Hey, do you notice that I was the only one that remembered? I'm coachable.
Wow.
Dear coach, I'm coachable.
Dear coach.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, everyone.